Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. So I'm going to present to you this morning on some of, I suppose, mainly the trips that food businesses fall into, or the traps that they fall into, I suppose, in relation to pest control. So I'm going to talk to you about pest control as it's featured in FSAI enforcement orders. I'm going to very briefly outline to you some of the issues caused by pests, and Mark, I know, will go into a lot more detail on that later on. I'm going to talk to you about who's responsible for pest control and what you can do in very brief terms to help prevent pest problems in your businesses. So I'm sure we're all very familiar with these headlines that we see every month when FSAI publishes all of the enforcement orders that are being issued by inspectors across the country in relation to all kinds of food safety issues, but also in relation to pest control, and that's what we're going to focus on today. So many of them, you can see them issued for enforcements in January: live rodents in the kitchen, rats, FSAI inspectors spotted live rat during a visit to takeaway. Or you may have received viral videos such as this one with a rat climbing out of a packet of bread. I'm sure whoever was standing the other side of the counter that day didn't have a sandwich for lunch. And this has become very common, where everything is issued, and as part of the FSAI I suppose mindset is that we're very open and transparent in relation to the enforcements that we issue, so that we publish them. We publish the individual details of the order, so exactly what was seen by the inspectors in the premises. So just to put those headlines, I suppose, into context a little bit. So there's approximately 52,000 food businesses in Ireland, and inspections take place every single day by the inspectors going into the premises and assessing the food safety in those premises and making a determination as to whether it's safe or unsafe. And the vast majority of those inspections result in a compliant or maybe a minor breach of legislation. And that would mean that there might be some small issue that has arisen that the business needs to put right before the inspector can kind of give them back a kind of a clean bill of health, if you like. But when there is a risk to consumer health, enforcement action is taken. But it really is the tip of the iceberg. As I've said, last year there was over 60,000 inspections in 2023. So of those 60,000 inspections, there was 94 closure orders. So you can see it's a tiny percentage. And this is where, when the inspector is in the premises, they have made a determination that there is a grave and immediate danger to public health. So this is not something that is taken lightly by the inspectors. It's not something that is a small issue. A closure order is only ever issued if the inspector is of the opinion that if they leave that premises open, they are leaving a problem which will cause a risk to public health, so cause food poisoning, etc. And that's where the enforcement action comes into play there. So just to look at it, in July this year, we are seeing pest control featuring, and pest control has always featured in the enforcement orders, but we're seeing pest control featuring more and more. So in July, you can see there was 83% of the closure orders issued by inspectors referenced pest control. Now, this doesn't mean the only reason the business was closed was because there was a pest control issue. It means pest control was one of the issues. And it's quite common that when businesses are closed, it's not any one thing, it's usually a myriad of things. So it could be pest control issues like an infestation in the kitchen or the storage area for ingredients. It could also include a long list of other issues, for example, with regards to staff training, with regards to hygiene, operational controls, temperature controls, etc. So it's rarely just one issue that closes a business. So 83% in July, 63% in August, and you can see there at the bottom of the screen, 100% in September. So just to talk about the problems that are caused by pests. So food can become contaminated by bacteria from pests and their droppings coming into contact with food, by pest bodies, and we have had issues where there have been rodent carcasses found in food preparation areas, etc. And certainly, I know Mark will talk later about cockroach infestations where there's lots of cockroaches, flies, etc., found in premises on a regular basis. But not just the pest bodies, but also eggs, hairs, and droppings. And all of these are contaminated with bacteria. If you think about the type of life a pest lives, it's not very fussy. It doesn't say I'm only going to live in a nice clean food premises. It's usually in and out of waste bins, sewers, drains, everything like that, and brings all that contamination with it into a food preparation area. Excuse me. And then chemicals. So if the chemicals that are used for pest control activities are not carefully controlled, they can also provide an issue in relation to contamination of food. So good pest control. It's a legal responsibility of the food business operator to produce safe food. And part of that legal responsibility includes the requirement to have effective pest control procedures in place. And that includes the physical premises, so the structure, making sure that there's no holes in the walls, etc., where pests can gain access. It includes the outdoor and yard areas, so making sure that the outside space is clean and tidy, waste is well maintained and curtailed. Effective operational hygiene, so making sure that the operational hygiene in the premises is good and that things aren't left lying around for pests to have access to. Regular checking for pest activity, and that includes regular checking by staff, by the operator or owner, and also by a pest controller as well. And then taking action when necessary. So if there is something wrong, that action is taken. So that is the legal responsibility that is set out in food law in relation to providing safe food for consumers. Pest control is an integral part of that requirement. So who's responsible for effective pest control or good pest control in a business? So this is a real case of collaboration. So you have the owner or the manager who I'll go through the different responsibilities now in a minute, who has overall responsibility for the premises. The staff have a very key role to play in ensuring that pest activity is notified and is kept under control, and also the other work that they do it in a proper manner. And then the pest control, either contractor or pest controller who's coming into your premises to have a look and make sure that anything issues that arise are dealt with. So just to go through each of those three areas of responsibility and what each person should be responsible for. So the food business operator or manager is responsible for implementing an appropriate pest control program. So employing a contractor, agreeing what's going to happen, making sure that the money they're paying is going to a good pest controller that will make sure that their premises is adequately protected. They're also responsible for ensuring that the premises is pest proofed. So, screens on windows, brush strips at the bottom of doors, doors not being left open, holes in walls, etc., being sealed up, etc. Keeping the premises in a good state of repair. So if damage occurs, it's fixed quickly to make sure that the integrity of the premises is not compromised. Maintaining communications with both employees and contractors. And this is not just the pest control contractor. So if an electrician comes in to do a bit of work in the premises, that they make sure that once that electrician is finished, he hasn't left an ingress point, a point where the pests can get into the premises. And also talking with the employees to make sure that they know that if they see something in relation to pest activity in any area of the premises or the yard, the grounds outside, that they notify the owner so that they can take action. And then to ensure that any actions, whether notified by the pest controller or whether, are obvious to them themselves, that they take action promptly to make sure that they're doing everything correctly. Then in relation to staff or food handlers, so they need to check regularly for and report any signs of pests. So, simple things like walking through the dry goods store and they see a lot of moths or a lot of flies or whatever. Don't just see it. You got to action it, say something to the supervisor. Ensure the food is stored properly and safely. So, nice tight fitting containers, making sure that goods are stored correctly, making sure that everything is maintained in a clean manner. And waste is stored safely as well. So not open bags of waste thrown outside the back door or inside the back door where they're going to be an attractant for pests. clean as you go. This is a common food safety kind of practice, that people clean up as they go, not leaving things lying out, leaving things lying around, etc. Keeping the outside areas tidy. And the most important thing for staff is if they see something, they need to say something, because if they're seeing and recognizing that there's a sign of pests at some point in the premises, it's a big problem. If we as humans are seeing the effects of it, it means that there is a big problem and it needs to be dealt with. In relation to the pest controller then, the pest controller must be thorough in their pest control inspections and inspect all areas of the premises, including ante-rooms, back areas, storage rooms, packaging stores, all areas of the premises, and in particular the outside area of the premises, which is kind of the first line of defense, I suppose, for pest control. They must provide detailed guidance and advice to the owner of the business. So it's not just enough to come in, throw their eye around the premises and walk out without telling the business what's happened. They should provide reports on inspections, and those reports should include what actions are required. So if they see that there's an issue with the brush strip is getting worn and it needs to be replaced, that needs to be included in the report. And then as a food business operator, you can show those reports to your inspector as demonstration that you are taking action and ensuring that pest control is being an important part of your food safety controls. And they must be available to respond urgently when required. So if you discover there is an issue in your premises with pests, you must be able to lift the phone and talk to that pest controller, and they must be able to come and attend to your premises as a matter of extreme urgency to deal with the issue. So what can you do to prevent pest problems in your business? So check all areas of your food premises regularly for signs of pests. And that could include rodent droppings, smear marks, insect egg cases, dead insects, etc. And most importantly, if you discover a problem, take action immediately. So call your pest controller immediately to get it rectified. And why is good pest control necessary? One thing, it's a requirement of food law. So you must have effective pest control in place. It's a requirement of legislation as you as a food business operator are obliged to comply with. It will protect your customers. All you have to do is Google rat in bread deli counter, and up pops in the top 3 the name and the address of the premises where that happened over a year ago. So it will live with your premises for quite a while if there's an issue. And you're protecting your customers by making sure that you're not selling them food that is unsafe. It prevents damage to stock. So if you have stock that becomes damaged or becomes infested with any type of pest, that will need to be removed. It will need to be put into the bin, and that's a cost to your business. It protects your reputation, and we've talked a little bit about the viral video and the news headlines, etc. It'll protect your reputation. It won't be, oh, that restaurant that was closed because they had pest infestation. And it prevents damage to your premises. Pests can cause damage to premises themselves, apart altogether from the food safety aspects. And I know Mark will talk about that a little bit later on. And it will just enable you to produce safer food overall. So this really is one of the areas of food safety where prevention is better than cure. Once you discover there's an issue, it's going to be very, very hard to get back out of that issue if you're closed. And it is really only closures are only happen because there's a grave and immediate danger to public health. So if you're closed, you're going to be on the website, you're going to be in the newspaper headlines, you're going to be there for a while. We publish the enforcement orders, so exactly what was wrong in your premises is available for each and every one of your customers to read. So it's definitely a case where prevention is better than cure. So thank you for listening to me this morning. I'm going to hand over to Declan now,